Hi, in this lab we will see identity and access management. So in order to get into identity and access management, in the search blade you can search for IAM. So it will take you to the IAM blade. So we are in IAM blade now. So in the left side we have access management. Under that we have user group, users, roles, policies, and identity provider and account setting. So let's go to the users. So here we can create users in our AWS account. So this user can log into the AWS and they can manage the AWS infrastructure based on the permissions what we assign. Let's create one user for the testing. So I'm going to give a name as AWS test 1, and I'm going to select provide user access to AWS management console. So when you click this, they will gain the access to log into the management console. Click next. So here I'm going to choose I want to create an IAM user, and then you'll have a option for the password. So I'm going to choose my password. So I'm not choosing the auto generated one. So I will enter the password over here, and then we have an option user must create a new password. So since this is a demo, I'm not going to choose this. So I'll click next. So now it will ask whether you want to add the user to the group or you wanted to copy any permission from another user. For example, let's say if you already have a user which is having some XYZ permissions, so you can copy those permissions to this user as well. Or you can attach policy directly. It means you can define the permissions manually. For example, let's say if you wanted to give any read-only access for the EC2, so you can type EC2 read. So Amazon EC2 read only access. So this user will have access to EC2 read only, so that he cannot do any deletion or etc. on the virtual machine. Only he can read it. So let's assign this particular permission, and I'll click next, and I will select create user. So now Amazon will create the user, and let's go to the return to user list. We will see. So now AWS test one has been created. So let's try to log in using this particular credential, and we will see the behavior. So I'm going to open a new incognito window. So I'm going to launch the URL. So I'm selecting IAM user. So it will ask for the account ID. So if we go back to our portal, so under VDI bus, see this is the account ID which we should copy, and then we will go back and we will enter the id, and then we will click next. So now it will ask for the username. So let's give the username which is AWS test 1 and the password. So let's enter. So now it is trying to log in, and we will see the behavior. So as you can see, the moment I log in, I got an error message here that you don't have permission to access this resource. It means it is directly logged me into the AWS organization where I do not have any access. So let's go to EC2. So I'll go to the instance. So as you can see, I'm able to access the EC2 and I'm able to see the virtual machine. For example, let's say if I wanted to delete this virtual machine, and let's see what is the behavior. So I'm going to click on terminate instance. So I will click on terminate. See, it is giving a message that failed to terminate instance. You are not authorized to perform these operations. This is because I have only defined read only permission. So this is how AWS permission works on the user level. So let's go back to our main portal where I have logged in with my administrator credential. So here we just saw how to create user and how to assign the permissions. So if you wanted to check the user properties, you can click the user and you can check what the permissions the user is having, and then is he belongs to any group, so etc. You can check over here. So let's go to user group, and we will try to create one user group as well. I'm going to select group. I'm going to give a name AWS group, and it will ask, do you want to add any user to this particular group? I will add the existing user. And then it will ask, do you want to attach any permission policies? So we have n number of permission policies over here. So earlier for this AWS test, we have only provided EC2 reader. So now we are going to add this user to the group. So in this group, we are providing the complete read-only access. So it means they can go and read everything in the AWS cloud. So before we create this role, so let's verify the other permissions belongs to AWS test. So I'm going to open the new browser where I logged in with the AWS test. So I will go to IAM from this user, and we will see what is the behavior. So as you can see, the moment I selected IAM, so it is saying access denied. It means I do not have any permissions. That is why it throw the error. So now what we are going to do, we are defining a permission to the group. So I have added read only group. I have added read only policy or permissions. So which will have, read only access to everything. If you see, so we have list of permissions assigned in this particular policy. So let's go to next, which is create group. So now the group has been created. So this is the AWS group. So now let's go back to our AWS portal, and we will try to relog in with AWS test one, and we will see the permissions. So I'm going here again. I'm going to refresh this. See, after refreshing, I am able to access all the tabs over here, which is user groups, and I can read everything. Why? Because now the group has a permissions to read everything, and this user is part of that group. So, however, it is only a read only. I cannot create any users, or I cannot do any further notification. So, in order to demonstrate that, I'll try to click add user. I'll give a test, and I will click next. I will click next once again, and I'll click on create user, and we'll see what is the behavior. So as you can see, user was not created because you're not authorized to perform. So this is how you can create users and user group, and you can assign permissions, and you can controls everything. So using this IAM console.